Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, I can see two names here, Dr. Aruna and Ms. Jitinder Kaur. So, can I know the names of other two participants also, if they are able to speak? Yes, over to the members.
I
Other two
think, ma'am, those
members,
two
are you?
participants still not joined. Yes, they have
Okay,
not
they,
till
they are not
yes.
joining. They'll not be joining. So,
Till
only
now,
two
ma'am,
members
not.
will be.
Yes, 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 ma'am.
Okay, okay. So, friends, we are going to take up a topic which is of immense importance as far as teaching learning is concerned. Why do I say so? Because unless and until a teacher knows these things, he or she will not be able to select the appropriate instructional strategies, the evaluation techniques, and maybe the teacher is not able to arouse the necessary motivation level of the learners who are likely to participate in the teaching learning process. And when I say these three things, very important, I think you have got the cue and you have also the program schedule of the program. So I'm talking in terms of the learning outcomes. And learning outcomes, they serve very important purposes for the teacher, for the students, for the administrators, as well as the others. And I'll be focusing more on what are these learning outcome as a teacher, at which level I am more concerned about writing learning outcomes, and then what are the different domains of learning outcomes. Do they fall in one category or domain, or there are other domains also? And finally, some of the examples I'll be taking up. Now, as we are only four members or three members here present in the session, so I would expect answers from you because we can make it more interactive this session. Now, when I say learning outcomes, my first question to you is, what is the ultimate purpose of any formal education system? Over to the participants. G. Dr. Ankan, can you give me an answer?
Ma'am, to me, in an formal education system, to educate a person on a particular subject is a second priority. In a formal education system, we must develop an attitude in a student to an attitude of learning something, learning on any topic, on anything,
Okay,
live
so your
discipline.
focus is that primarily the purpose of education system is to develop the learning to learn skills among the students so that they always keep themselves updated. Okay, what else? What else?
This learning attitude develops learning attitude in discipline. Uh,
Okay, okay, maybe it's mechanical, civil, or electrical, and so on, right?
it could
What
be
else?
anything. And after that, with these skills, he will be able to earn something or serve to someone.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Aruna, would you like to share your opinion? Do we have Dr. Aruna with us? Maybe Dr. Rohit? No answer. Jitendra ji, would you like to share your opinion?
I think, ma'am, according to me, it's the acquisition of any skill.
Okay, maybe you are talking in terms of skill.
Yeah.
Are you focused on the technical skills, or are you talking in terms of soft skills or so on?
Uh, all the skill, I think,
All these
it
skills.
will depend on the type of learning that
Okay.
is implemented.
So you include both technical knowledge, technical skills as well as the soft skills on the part
Sure.
of the learners.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much. Let me share the presentation with you. Both both of you are right when you are sharing your opinion that the formal education system is primarily to develop favorable attitudes, not in one aspect but number of aspects. In addition to that, the desirable behavior which the graduate must show, and in addition to that, the technical skills which are important for any discipline. They need to be demonstrated by the individual learner. And in addition to that, the third component, which both of you have not said, but in other words, that is a part included here when he said refer to the attitude towards learning, and he did refer to the technical knowledge. So what we actually expect from any formal education system is to develop the necessary competence among the graduates. Now, when I say among the graduates, so maybe civil, mechanical, electrical, civil, or computer, or IT, and so on, what is who's a competent person is? The competent person is one who possesses the desired technical knowledge in that particular subject of specialization. That means computer science to computer science, civil engineering related to civil engineering, and so on. And in addition to that, the technical skills which are required to perform certain tasks, right? Ability to perform. So, whatever skills are technical skills are needed in that respective discipline, they need to be possessed by a competent graduate. And the third very important component is attitudes and behavior. And when we say attitude and behavior, you find three terms here: attitude, employability skills, entrepreneurial skills. Now, employability skills, maybe we are talking in terms of communication, creative problem solving, ability to work in teams, leadership, adaptability, etc. And entrepreneurial skills, when we are talking, maybe there is an overlap also, because entrepreneurial skills will also include the project management skills, the leadership, the delegation, in addition to creativity, communication, etc. And certain financial skills also need to be possessed by the individual who go for entrepreneurial. And why these three have been indicated? Because these days, the industry is not only looking for the people who possess the technical knowledge and skills, but because of the change in the environment which has happened, it is providing or giving more emphasis on the soft skills like communication, creativity, ability to work in teams, adaptation, and so on. And those have become more important. And the surveys which are available in terms of Manpower Research Group, an international survey which is carried out every year, and it also clearly indicates that the employers find it difficult to fill in the vacant positions. And because of the reason that students, they have also analyzed that they lack technical knowledge and skills, as well as the soft skills which are important in industry. Likewise, the skill report, which has been the outcome of CII and All India Council for Technical Education, they also speak in terms of that only 47 to 48% of the graduates from the engineering and technology discipline, they are employable, and rest of them are not because of the lack of the soft skills primarily. Now that means whenever we talk in terms of formal education system, these three things become important. That means the system must develop the desired technical knowledge, technical skills, and attitudes and behavior. And we all know that in our country, outcome based education has been given the due emphasis. And National Board of Accreditation, especially for technical education, NEP 2020 has come out with greater stress on outcome-based education for general education as well as technical. But in technical education, this has already been implemented. And we have accreditation process which is linked to outcome-based education, wherein the whole process of teaching learning has started from specifying the competencies, what we refer to as the graduate attributes, and the program outcomes are direct translation of those graduate outcomes or attributes. So the whole process starts with what a learner should possess in terms of competencies. And then the curriculum, teaching learning strategies, and assessment, they are aligned to those attributes. And here, when we look at, let's not go into, the four important terms which have come into force are the program education objectives, program outcomes, program specific outcomes, and course outcomes. Now, very simply, if you look at program education objectives, they are the statements regarding what a student will be able to do after 3 to 5 years of completion of the program. So that means a person who undergoes a 4 years program, after another maximum 5 years, so after 5 years, where he'll be placed, what activities or what roles he'll be performing, and what competencies he'll be demonstrating at that particular point of time. That is what is program education objective. I'll be just going to the examples also. Then program outcomes are immediately after 4 years, if it is a degree program. If it's a diploma program, then after 3 years of completion of the program, what a student will be able to do. What if that is stated, that is nothing but a program outcome. And this is an additional term, program specific outcomes, that is related to the specializations being offered by the institution. Maybe in computer science, some institution, they are laying emphasis or providing specialization in cloud computing. There may be another one which is only going in for cloud computing. So one cloud computing, another may be going for the artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality. So what are the specializations which are being offered to the students, and what competences the students will acquire on account of those specializations? That is where we come out with program specific outcomes. And course outcomes, you can see it is on completion of a particular course. Now, say for example, software engineering, maybe one of the courses offered in computer science. So that may be 1 semester course. If it is 1 semester course, so what is expected of a learner on completion of that course for 6 months? So it will take 6 months. Program specific outcomes may be that the area of specialization is pursued for another maybe 1.5 years and so on. So there are 3 semesters. On completion of that, the person indicates. Or if there is only one particular specialization, 1 semester, again it will be 6 months. Program outcomes will be on completion of the program, that is after 3 years or 4 years, depending upon diploma or degree. And program education objectives are long term, right? Now here you can see when we say program educational objectives, now you see here that these are a few examples which I picked up from one of the engineering colleges for that is provide students with a solid foundation of mathematical, scientific, engineering fundamentals. Prepare the graduates of the program to excel in their technical and professional careers and be leaders in the fields of ENTC, engineering, telecommunication. The graduates of the program will be committed to continuous professional development and lifelong learning in dynamically evolving technology. One can also think in terms of specifying program educational objectives in terms of what are the different careers or professions the persons will be pursuing. So maybe one is that students may go for the higher education system. So if they go to higher education system, one of the program educational objective may be the learner or the graduate is able to demonstrate the prerequisite knowledge, skills, and attitudes for pursuing higher level of learning, right? Another, the person may go for the wage employment. So let's take an example of that a civil engineer who graduates from a system. By the end of another 3 to 4 years, he is placed as junior engineer in one of the organizations. So if he is working as a junior engineer, so he is demonstrating the technical knowledge and skills to perform the job role of junior engineer effectively and efficiently in an organization. Or if he has started his own venture, maybe the program educational objective is that the graduate is able to manage the construction company effectively. If he has set up his own construction company, he is able to manage that construction company effectively. So program education objectives, they are quite broad and they allow the learner to fulfill his career and professional aspirations. Now, another example you can see for the information technology graduates, you can see here that strong background, again, because this same, demonstrate technical competence in the field of IT and develop solutions to the problems. This is the second program education objective in terms of IT graduates. Or to produce graduates who would attain professional competence through lifelong learning. So that means they remain updated and they go on for higher education, acquiring higher degrees, and so on. Then to produce graduates who function effectively in a multidisciplinary environment and individually within a global, societal, and environmental context. So it is talking of the person who can work at different levels. Maybe if he's working at global level, he's able to show that competence. If he's working at the national level or he's working at the local level, but in addition to that, they are taking care of the societal and environmental context. Then you say ethical and moral behavior. So they are able to, I would rather put, demonstrate ethical and moral behavior in whatever profession they go, right? So civil engineer, electrical engineer, so what are professional ethics required on a part of that engineer, they are able to demonstrate. Now coming to the program outcomes. So program outcomes, you can see that these have been directly taken up from the graduate attributes, which was given by the American Board of Engineering and Technology. So these, everybody is now familiar with A to K, and the first one deals with engineering knowledge, second deals with problem analysis, third deals with design and development of solutions, fourth is regarding the conduct of investigations for complex problems. So it may include design of experiments, as you can see, analysis, interpretation of data, and synthesis to reach the valid conclusion. Then modern tool usage is the fifth one, engineer and the society, then environment and sustainability, because these days we are more focused on attaining those 17 sustainable development goals specified by UN and accepted by the government of India also. So these sustainable development goals have occupied the central position these days. So a person has to think in terms of sustainability, whatever profession a person may pursue. Then ethics, which are very, very important. So professional ethics and responsibilities. So engineers, then individual and teamwork. Why this has become important? Because all the industries which are there, and especially when you talk in terms of the Fortune 1000 companies, even those companies, they take up projects, and for any project there is a project team. So the people are not working individually but working more in teams, and thereby teamwork has become important. And another is that maybe the person has to also work in teams which are interdisciplinary or deal with complex problems which are interdisciplinary, require multidisciplinary knowledge. Then communication. So communication is the lifeline, as we all know, and a person has to use the different types of communication. Maybe the person need to read, write, speak, listen, and all these are because in an industry, maybe of documents which are available, they need to be read. Speaking is whenever the person has to interact with others or make a presentation or make the people aware of the products produced by the company, speaking comes into play. And the person, if occupies a position where he has to prepare reports, technical reports, writing becomes important, right? And once you are interacting with others, then you are listening also. So communication is of importance. Then you can see project management. So as the industry is taking a project, and if you are a designated leader for the project, then you need to know the project management skills and financial management skills. Or if you're setting up your own venture, again, it becomes important. And then lifelong learning. Very importantly, the point which was made by our colleague, that it is lifelong learning which will always keep the person up to date or current in the technical knowledge and skill, technical knowledge as well as skill. So 12 program outcomes. Then course outcomes are very specific to the courses being offered. So to develop those competencies, which you can see in program outcomes, then clusters of knowledge and clusters of skills are needed. And those are then further identified as courses. And at the end of that particular course, what a learner will be able to do, if you specify that, that becomes a course outcome. And for every course, 4 to 5 or maximum 6, you have learning outcomes which are specified. Now, here you can see, if I just read this, design sequential and combinational digital circuits using basic gates, universal gates, and integrated circuits. Now, here you see it's a very specific to the digital electronics and logic design. And the specificity increases as we come from program outcomes to course outcomes. Program outcomes are much broader. And then you can see for data structures, just read this, to analyze time and space complexity for applying suitable algorithms and data structures for the given programming problem. One of the very specific one. So you can see that all these three, whether we talk of program education objectives, we talk in terms of program outcomes or course outcome, these three are available in the curriculum document. In the curriculum document for any particular course. Now here you can see that program consists of number of courses. So you talk in terms of program outcomes, you talk in terms of course outcomes, but a course consists of topics. So where comes in the role of writing learning outcomes at the level of teacher is when you pick up you are assigned a course syllabus is there, course outcomes are there, but topics are there. Then for each topic, the teacher needs to write the learning outcomes. Now, there is a little controversy here. People use the term instructional objective, but nowadays we don't talk in terms of instructional objectives. More commonly used term is learning outcome. You are very certain that on completion of this course, a person will be able to demonstrate these competencies. So you are trying to align your teaching learning strategies so that the desired competence is developed or acquired by the learner. So the teacher is more concerned with writing the topic level learning outcomes, and topic 1, there may be 3 lessons. So topic 2, maybe there are 6 lessons which are to be there. So topic 1, the teacher needs to write learning outcomes for the lesson. I'm referring to Spede because he talks in terms of that after course outcomes, one can go in for unit level outcomes, topic level outcomes, and lesson level outcomes. And here you can see, if we talk in terms of stating lesson level learning outcomes, we follow a top-down approach. And when it comes to assessing to what extent these learning outcomes have been attained by the learners, then we follow a bottom-up approach. That means if the lesson level learning outcomes are attained by the learner, you can be sure that course outcomes will be attained. If course outcomes are attained for various courses, the program outcomes will be attained. And if a graduate possesses all those desired competences, then he'll be able to fulfill his professional and career aspiration. Now here, from the discussion, or I would say from the input which you have received, it is very, very clear that learning outcomes are statements regarding what a student is able to do at the end of unit of instruction. And these can be written at different levels. You can write lesson level, you can write topic level, you can write unit level, you can go to course outcomes, you can go to program outcomes. And these learning outcomes, these are few examples because I've said the teacher is primarily concerned with translating the course outcomes into topic or lesson level learning outcome. So if I just say define efficiency, student is able to define efficiency, define programming, compare diesel engine with petrol engine, differentiate between deep and shallow foundation. Now all these are nothing but random examples of learning outcomes. Now you just examine them and just tell me what is the commonality among these learning outcomes. Over to the participants. G. Anybody who would like to say, if you say the student is able to define, if he is able to define, compare, differentiate, what are the commonalities among these examples? Over to the participants, please. G. Just read them and let me know. Can you identify some of the common characteristics of these learning outcomes?
That is understanding, madam. Understanding the concepts. Understanding the concepts.
It is, no, just think in terms of, read the first one, define demand, differentiate demand, explain the concept. Now, all these learning outcomes, first thing, very evident, is they are all specified in terms of learner's behavior. What a student is able to do after the unit of instruction. So they are always stated in terms of learner's behavior. The second thing, when I say define, differentiate, describe, explain, analyze, what are these in English language? What do we call them? Yes? Yes? Over to the members.
Illustration.
No, they are all verbs, action verbs, activity verbs, right? So when we say learning outcomes, they are always starting with an action verb, right? And if they start with an action verb, it is very specific behavior that needs to be demonstrated by the learner. Another thing, the behavior which is demonstrated is observable. Now, when I say a student is able to define demand, definition of demand can be given by the learner orally or can be given in writing. So that behavior becomes observable and thus measurable, because you can always compare the definition given by the learner with the standard definition and you can assess it. Then these all learning outcomes, they are achievable or attainable, right? And they are attainable within a specified period of time frame. That means if it is after a lesson, then maybe after 45 minutes of instruction, a student is able to do this. If it is a course, a student is able to do on completion of course. So these are all time framed and these are all realistic because they are relevant to the context in which the student is learning. So the 5 important characteristic of any good learning outcome is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time frame. In other words, you always talk in terms of management. Objectives are smart. So learning outcomes are also smart. Then comes, in the beginning I said that a competent person needs to possess knowledge, needs to possess the technical skills, and needs to possess the desired behavior and favorable attitudes. Now here, so the learning outcomes fall in 3 different domains: cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. Now this categorization was given in 1956 by Bloom, and he has tried to categorize educational objectives into these 3 domains. So we can classify the learning outcomes into 3 domains: cognitive domain, which deals with acquisition of information; psychomotor domain, which deals with acquiring the skills, technical skills, right? Which include your cognition, psyche, and motor, the muscular coordination. Now, operating a lathe, maybe that is one example, or driving a car, or maybe running a race. These are all example of psychomotor skill. And then affective, which deals with attitudes and behavior. So cognitive, whatever learning outcomes, they are related to acquisition of knowledge, they fall in the cognitive domain. Learning outcomes related to acquisition of skills, they fall in psychomotor domain. And learning outcomes related to affective attitudes and behavior fall in affective domain. So we'll first take up cognitive domain, because in the cognitive domain also there are 6 different levels of learning outcomes, And here you can see the original terms given by Bloom: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. I may not be focusing on these, but just see the new terminology which has come into play and given by Anderson and Krathwohl. They were the students of Bloom and they have brought a change. Here you can say the lowest level here of the learning outcome is at remembering level. Now, when I say remembering, first the difference let me give you the difference, that here you have the nouns, here you have the verbs. So the new terminology focuses more on the cognitive processes which are used to learn a particular thing. So here you see remembering. Remembering means which relates to memorization or rote memorization of the things and ability to reproduce those. Now, when I say define force, a student need not understand the meaning of force, but he can mug up, rote memorize the definition of force and reproduce it in the same manner. Or when I say state Ohm's law, now, no need to understand, but simply to reproduce the things. So this is nothing. Or I say, list the two types of engines on the basis of fuel. So person simply writes petrol and diesel. This is nothing where rote memorization is required. Then what are the things for which the understanding cognitive processes are required? Now, for example, when I say explain the concept of force, now the person has to define force, explain it, elaborate it in his own words, and also give one or the other example. So concepts can be explained, applications can be explained, theories can be explained, models can be explained, predictions can be made, relationships can be interpreted. So that is all those learning outcomes which relate to these areas, they are at the understanding level. Understanding concepts, models, theories, applications, relationships, etc. Then applying whatever you have understood, the basic purpose is that you need to apply those learned things in new situation. Just giving you one example, a student in the school learns to add, subtract, multiply, divide. Now, where he is applying these principles, when he goes to the market, buys something, he is able to apply the learned principles of addition, subtraction, multiplication. When he tries to take the balance from the shopkeeper, he is applying. When you know the principle of inertia of movement, you are able to apply it when you are traveling in a bus. You are trying to shoot underwater target. You are applying simple principle of refraction there. When you want to take the load and you use the pulleys, you are applying that principle of pulley where you require less of your energy or force to pick up that weight. Applying, right? So what are the things which are maybe theories applied, principles are applied, models are applied, and so on, or concepts are applied in new situation? Then analyzing level learning outcomes are where you are able to break down the whole into its constituent parts. Now, when I say a whole into its constituent parts, maybe a total machine, you try to disassemble and locate a fault in that machine, or a program written in C++, but it is not functional. So you go step by step, one by one, and try to find out where the person has made a fault or mistake in that program, or the algorithms written, maybe there is a fault, so you can find out the fault. Or you say that it is an industrial area, and the student need to find out whether the air pollution is there and what kind of industries they are contributing to the air pollution. Now, this would require analysis. What type of industries are there? Which industries are having air emission? And what is the exact level of air pollution being added to the air by those industries? Analyzing, or analyzing the reasons for the success or failure of a particular situation. Analyzing. Then learning outcomes at the evaluating level are those where the person determines the worth and take a decision. So it requires a judgment and a decision. Now, wherever there are two materials, two theories applicable in a given situation, two techniques which can be used to produce anything, or two methods which can be used to manufacture something, you need to evaluate. For example, whether deep foundation will be more suitable, shallow foundation will be, or whether a petrol engine will be more suitable or a diesel engine will be more suitable for a given car. If you are able to take a decision, or if you are preparing any, say, tool, or maybe you are preparing a part of a machine, so what kind of material you would like to use? So metal karoge, non-metal karoge, alloy karoge, which material and which of those material will be more useful? If you are able to take a decision, it is nothing but learning outcome at the evaluating level. It involves the process of evaluation. And creating level learning outcomes are those where a person tries to make use of learning at the lower levels and create something new. So when a person is able to design a SUV, design a residential building, design a staircase, or a person is able to design a residential colony, keeping in view the special needs of the people who are likely to be there, right? Or the person tries to create a society which is self-sufficient in its own way. So you are giving a condition and the person is able to utilize the knowledge which is acquired of concepts, principles, theories, models, principles, and then he applies those, he also evaluates those, and then he's trying to create something new. So every higher level of learning subsumes the lower level of learning. Who can understand, who know the definition. A person who can apply, who has the definition, who has the understanding. And if the person has to analyze, he need to have the knowledge of understanding of the concepts, principles, theories, and ability to apply in a given situation. Then he'll be able to analyze. And you can see as we progress from remembering to creating, the higher level of cognitive processes are used. And one another difference you can see in the original terminology and new terminology is the positioning of creating and evaluating. Synthesis was at number 5, but creating has been kept at number 6. So it is assumed that whenever something new needs to be created, evaluation also takes place. So evaluation comes at number 5. Now here you can see some examples of learning outcomes at the remembering level, where no understanding is required, only rote memorization. When you say a student is able to define open and closed, state Ohm's law, state the advantages, name the quality guru, and list any 5 major parts of an engine. So all these, when you use the verb define, state, name, enlist, list, identify. These are some examples of the verbs which can be used to write learning outcomes at the remembering level. The moment, now here are a few more examples. Label the parts of lathe machine, name two types of soil foundation, give the full form of land van, write the formula for calculating. All these are nothing but examples of learning outcomes at the remembering level. Now see the difference. When it comes to understanding, we are not using define, state, list, enlist, but the verbs have been changed. Derive, explain, differentiate, interpret, estimate. Now, all these are whenever the person needs to derive the relationship between two concepts, say current and voltage. So the person needs to have the understanding of the concept of current and understanding of the concept of voltage. Only then he'll be able to derive the relationship between the two concepts. Then if the person has to, say for example, differentiate between normal and oblique shocks, so he need to understand what are normal shocks, what are oblique shocks. Then only he can come out with the points of differences. And here you can also use the verb compare. Compare normal shocks with oblique shocks. Now, when you say compare the points of similarity and differences, the person has to state. And if you look at interpret the given graph, that means again, the graph may be showing relationship between two variables. So when you say stress is directly proportional to strain, a person is able to draw this conclusion on the basis of graph. It requires understanding of the two concepts, stress and strain, and ability to interpret the graph. Then estimate the population. So if the person can project a phenomena on the basis of the given data, that also requires understanding. So you can see derive, explain, differentiate, compare, interpret, estimate, even calculate, find out, determine. If the formula needs to be applied and the area is to be calculated, length and breadth is given, area is to be calculated of a rectangle. Simple. So the person is only require an understanding of that, right? So here you can see compare with the help of a neat sketch, explain liquid propelled rocket engine, explain the working, okay? Write the steps for recovering a file. So you are explaining a procedure or a method, then describe the steps in academic planning, Herzberg's motivation theory. Again, few more examples, which I have already used. Then comes at applying. Now here you can see that this is application of the learned knowledge in a new situation. So here it is not explaining the factors which contribute to transmission losses. It is actually calculating transmission losses in a given locality. So the person is trying to apply the learned principles in a new situation to calculate the transmission losses. Then determine tensile stress in a given rod subjected to a given load, right? Demonstrate the principle of inertia of movement. So if you keep your face in the direction in which the bus is moving, you are able to demonstrate the principle. Demonstrate the principle of refraction, shooting the underwater target. Convert the given sentence into indirect speech. Now here, the sentence is not the one which you have dealt in the class, but a new sentence is given to the learner to convert it. Or a person is to write a letter to the company informing them of the manufacturing defects in the TV purchased by you. That is where. So solve second order differential as something is in a given industry. So given industry, the person need to solve the second order differential equation. This is where he's applying the learned knowledge in new situation. Then you see learning outcomes at the analyzing level. So identify causes for a failure of a given machine, locate a fault in the given circuit diagram. Now, what is important is given. So the person has to analyze it and identify the reasons or the factors or the um, parts causing a problem. Analyze the reasons for increase in gold prices during last 6 months. Analyzes reasons for air pollution in a given industrial area. Identify the reasons for breaking of a crankshaft. Breaking of a crankshaft. Not explaining the reasons for breakage of crankshaft. No, they are not explaining what is given in the book, but a given crankshaft, a case may be given, and the students are able to identify the reasons for breaking of that crankshaft. Explain the probable causes for collapsing of a bridge in Kolkata. Not only why the bridge collapses. So there are some generalized factors. We are talking of a specific bridge which has collapsed. So the people are going to now identify the causes for that. So again, maybe based on case, identify the capability. Now, these are learning outcomes at the evaluating level. Now, I said wherever there are two materials, two methods, two techniques, two theories applicable, and the person is able to determine the worth and take a decision. So here, judge the appropriateness of circular iron stairs for a given residential building. If a student is able to do this, he is having achieved a learning outcomes at the evaluating level. If the person is able to select an appropriate engine for a given multi-utility vehicle, so again, he has options available, and if he is able to make a judicious choice, then he has achieved learning outcome at evaluating. Or evaluate the effectiveness of a communication system in a given organization. Evaluate. So the person is able to identify the strengths and weaknesses. Evaluate the effectiveness, whether the curriculum communication system is able to achieve the intended objectives or not, if that is at the evaluating level. Then determining the adequacy of resources for creating cloud computing facility and institution. This is again dealing with evaluating level. So you can see appropriateness, effectiveness, efficiency, adequacy, relevance. These, when you judge or determine, these are learning outcomes at the evaluating level. And finally, at the creating level. So you can use design, write, formulate, plan. These are some of the verbs which can be used. So design a carburetor for a given engine, design a component of a given machine, just a translation, design an organizational structure for the people of management, write a program in C++ to meet the customer needs. It is not only writing a program in C++ and follow the steps, but first you need to identify the needs, and according to the need, you need to write the program. Design a residential building, then formulate a plan. These are some verbs which can be used at the level of creating. Now, just giving you example, let me just go to, all of you have been through this course of research methodology, isn't it? Sabne ki hai? Hello? Are the participants with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, say for example, I have taken this course of research methodology. Now, here you can see the course outcomes. So, at the end of course, a student is able to select a research problem, define a research problem, write an integrated review of related literature, select an appropriate design for study, select samples for the study, select or develop measuring tools, collect data, analyze data and interpret the results, formulate a research proposal, write a research report, and evaluate a research report. These are the course outcome. I can simplify these. Maybe I retain, formulate a research proposal, undertake a research study, write a research report, and fourth one is evaluate a research report. Now, this course consists of all these various topics which are to be covered, starting with concept, types of research, process of research, need for research, review of literature, research designs, sampling, developing tools, administering tools, tabulating data, right? And then further, once I've done this, maybe I'm able to reach this stage where I'm undertaking the study and major fourth step I take. And finally, I develop the capability of formulating a research project. This is my course outcomes. Now here you can see, if I take up the very first one, the understanding of the need for undertaking research, then explain the need for undertaking research, enlist questions which can be answered with respect to various components of technical education system, explain and describe. But as soon as I go to selecting and defining a research problem, my whole approach changes. It is not explaining how a problem is selected, how a problem is defined. So, but I have converted it into identify a significant problem for research. So maybe the students are going to the community to identify the problems faced by them, and then identifying one of the problems which relate to their area of study. If a civil engineer is there, maybe the person is more concerned with the construction of roads, or maybe the sewerage system, or the person is the water system as is available. So maybe the problem relate to water, problem may relate to construction of roads, problem may relate to the sewerage system, and so on. There can be number of areas. If electrical engineer is there, maybe he's able to identify whether electricity is available and what is the layout, where the problem are there, where unauthorized wiring is there, and so on. So the person may think in terms of from electrical engineer point of view, right? Then when it comes to second one, you can see identify the factors affecting or causes for the identified problem. So where the problem, so identify the reason, selecting the variables, defining the research. So the person has to take up a problem, identify the relevant factors, then define the research problem, and finally the person needs to state the research objectives and formulate the hypothesis for study. So it is more of applying what he has learned in the class. It is not simply at the understanding level, but it is at the applying level. Here again you can see sampling. I could simply say define sample. Differentiate between target and accessible population. Then explain the process of selecting the explain the 4 probability sampling techniques, explain 4 non-probability sampling techniques. But here again you will see the person need to identify the target population for a given study. Accessible population, he has to determine the size of the sample. He has to determine, select the appropriate sampling technique, whether simple random sampling would be there, whether stratified random sampling would be there, or cluster sampling would be there, or maybe the person may have to go in for non-probability sampling technique of snowball sampling or quota sampling, and so on. Then select sample as per the sampling technique. So you can see your learning outcomes, how they are stated will make a lot of difference, because if the person has to really do this, then you need to provide the practice to the person. And if it is simply that you have given a theoretical input and the person has to simply explain or compare or differentiate or define or explain, then he can go through the book, he can go through the class notes, he can go to the internet resources and just appear in the exam and get the marks. But all these tasks, when he has to do, he has to have deep understanding of the concepts, theories, and techniques, and then apply those things in a new situation. So, friends, I think let me just go here. Right. So, here there is a link available. Let us, here you can see that I have given example from civil bending movements and shear, and I've referred to a book written by Professor Subramaniam. So the learning outcomes are stated in the beginning of the book. So you can simply look at the new books which are coming up. Even there, the learning outcomes are specified that after reading this chapter or the lesson, the learner will be able to do this, this, this. So this is nothing but where you can see whether it suffice or you want to add one or more learning outcome to this area. So when we say describe, determine, derive, draw, explain, all are at the understanding level. Here it is serving. So state, explain, classify, explain again at the understanding level, learning level outcomes are there. Again, now here you can see, and now this I am going to copy this link, give it this link in the chat box. There are few examples which are there in the Google form. So I request all of you to copy this. Just click on the link. You'll be taken to a Google form, and let's see whether we are able to understand this. Hanji, just click on the link and let me know whether you are able to access the Google form. G. Yes. Any one member can let me know.
You cannot click on this link, ma'am.
Yeah, it is. You can click on the. What is the problem? You are not able to click?
No, ma'am. It is visible to me, but I cannot click it.
होना चाहिए. आप कॉपी करके ब्राउजर में डाल लीजिए. If I click, it works. Yeah, it works.
Ma'am, actually, you have soft copy, but
one. No. Even the link in the chat box is clicked. आप करके देखो एक बार.
मैम मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, मैं इसको कॉपी भी नहीं कर सकता और क्लिक भी नहीं कर
तो
सकता.
कॉपी तो आप कर सकते हैं. If I can do.
मैम
Sir,
आपके पास soft
open the
copy-
info,
सर
sir,
इट
open
कैन
the
बी
info
सर इट
messages.
कैन बी कॉपीड. मैंने भी कॉपी करके अपने एंड पे खोला है. मैंने दोबारा लिंक शेयर किया है. आप अपने मोबाइल से कनेक्टेड हैं क्या सर?
नहीं, लैपटॉप से.
हाँ,
नहीं,
तो
अच्छा, हाँ.
it is
Okay,
a,
it is
Sir
there
is
in
looking
chat
on
box.
the screen,
Okay,
I think.
okay, I got it.
it is a clickable
Chat box
link.
में है.
अब क्लिक हो रहा है कि नहीं? अब देखिए सेकंड वन which has been put. Any other member can let me know.
Yes, मैम, हो गया, क्लिक हो गया. चैट बॉक्स
हो
में
गया
जाना है
जी?
इसके लिए.
हो गया. चलो ठीक है जी. So,
click.
briefly,
Okay.
thank you so much. A few examples have been taken up. So you can simply put a tick mark whether this is a learning outcome at the remembering level, understanding level, applying level, analyzing level, evaluating level, or creating level. Just simply put a tick mark. This is the questionnaire which you have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 questions here. So just put a tick mark.
develop a software to meet the customer needs. That is the suitability of books in the contextual area.
Any difficulty?
Apply the
What's the time like? 39. Okay. Okay, thank you. One person has already submitted. Two. So we are likely to get 2 more responses. Three. Do we have another member or not? 4 लोग हैं हम या 3 ही लोग हैं? जी Rohit, Ankan, Jitinder, and one ma'am was there.
Ma'am, at present we are 3 only.
3? वो डॉक्टर
Yes,
जो
ma'am.
है वो चली गई? She's not
I
there.
think she's not connected now.
No, earlier she was there. Okay, पता नहीं. चलो, if we are 3 only, thank you very much for giving the responses. Let's quickly see to what extent we are right. Now here, design an engine for a given sports utility vehicle. Why all of you, means 2 of the members have given it as applying and 1 member has given as created. G. The reasons for this, why applying only? G.
SUV is a application. Sports is a application. So I ticked applying.
Okay. No, when it comes to design an engine, if the specification of a SUV is given, then it is at the creating level. But if the specification for engine were given, then it would have been at the application point level. So it is at the creating level. Then develop a software as per the customer needs. So 3 of you have given 3 different answers. Again, I would say understanding is not correct. It is again creating, because the person, this example was taken up while I was dealing with it, that the person, when he has to do it in the real situation, identify the needs, and according to the need, the person has to develop a software. Maybe if the person is given to develop a software to register candidates for STC, for NITTTR, it will be totally different than if the person has to go to a shopping area and then identify the customer needs and then link it with the products which are available. So maybe we want to know the demands of the various products and then develop a software to have the on-time availability of those products in the market. So maybe that will be another software which is needed, which will be altogether different. So it is creating something new. So again, you will see judge the suitability. Again, we have got judge the suitability of MOOCs. So why three different again? Suitability, if you have to determine, it is at the evaluating level and not at applying level or analyzing. Analyzing would remain what kind of MOOCs are being offered to the learners in today's context. What are the, say, I have to find out how many research methodology courses are available on the SWIM platform. So I'm analyzing and then coming out with what are the different courses and what are the different organizations which are offering these courses. But if I have to judge the suitability of MOOC, this is where I am going to analyze its strengths and weaknesses, and then I am saying whether they are suitable or not. So I am determining the worth and then taking a decision with respect to their, are they suitable or are they not suitable. So it is evaluating level. Then apply the reinforcement. All of you are correct, 100% applying. Classify. Classify is only at the understanding level, not going at even at the applying level. Now, when you say classify, so you know what is a triangle, what is a rectangle, what is a square, what is a circle, and you classify the given shapes. Simple. So it is only understanding of the shapes which will help you to do that. It is only understanding, not even applying. Then define is at the remembering level. Very good. But why 1% at the definition is when you reproduce the standard definition of the reinforcement or shear force. Then 3 different responses. It is not at analyzing. So friends, interpret, it is at understanding. So interpreting the given graph is where you are driving the relationship between the 2 things or 3 things which are depicted. Analyze the reasons for. So very simply, it is the verb you need to pay attention. Analyze. It is written. So analyze. 1 person has done it correctly. So thank you very much for the responses. I think this comes through with the practice. Now we move on quickly to the second area, second domain, which is the psychomotor domain. So here you can see psychomotor domain. If I have to learn any skill, the very first step is the imitation. That means some expert demonstrates the procedure, the method to me, and I simply copy that. And a stage comes where I am asked to handle the machinery or the machine or the equipment or the tools. So when I started as a novice, I make errors, mistakes. That's a stage where the error mistake rate is high, manipulation. And precision is a stage where accuracy creeps in with practice, right? So the more practice you provide to the individual, the novice, the more accuracy will be there in starting a car, in accelerating the car, in deaccelerating the car, or in applying the brakes, or changing the gears, or taking a left turn or a right turn. So the person will be more accurate when asked to perform a particular operation. But a person may not be able to coordinate the various acts. So coordination will come when a long practice is there. That means more practice is there with the individual. With practice, coordination will also comes in, where the person will be able to smoothly insert the key, accelerate the car, change the gears, keep it in motion, also take care of the traffic and lighting, and so on. So, articulation. And final stage in learning of a skill is that skill becomes a second habit to the individual. So, a person is able to modify, adapt the skill. Now, you can say, for example, I have learned driving in plain area. Now, I am able to drive in hilly area. I have learned to drive in the sunshine, but I can drive the car in dark night. So I am able to adapt my driving according to the road conditions, according to weather condition, according to traffic condition. Or I have learned to assemble the car, right? Now I can produce or develop a hybrid car. I can use the tires of different car, engine of a different car, body of a different car, and reassemble them and come out with hybrid car or hybrid motorcycle. Or I know how to assemble the this mobile phone. Now I can modify. I can add a new feature to my mobile phone. I can design a mobile with a new feature. That is where the person is able to modify something which is existing. So the more mastery a person has of a skill, he'll be able to modify or adapt. And here, when we look at what goes in technical skills, we have lab experiments, workshop exercises, field experiment. All these are geared towards developing certain technical skills among, or we use project work, even that helps in developing some of the technical skills. So this is one example which I have taken up from the university. Indraprastha University, you can see connect the computer and local area network. Connect. This is the verb. So the person has to connect the computers in local area network. S is missing. So you can see the actions which he has to perform on the administrator end, action he has to perform at the client end. So if you are just stating those action steps by making use of the verb, all these becomes the learning outcomes. No step can be omitted by the learner. If he performs all the steps, he is able to connect the computers in local area network. So if you break down the experiment or exercise, the process into the various steps and write those steps in using a verb, they're all learning outcomes. But I'll just pay attention to the program outcomes here. Now, when you look at the program outcome, sorry, I'm going using this back button. But here, when you look at engineering knowledge, and it is first identify, formulate, review research literature, analyze complex, design, develop solutions, or conduct an investigation, modern tool usage. All these five, they are directly related to technical knowledge and skill. But as soon as you move from fifth program outcome to 6 to 12, the engineer and society, the environment and sustainability, the professional ethics, working in teams, communication, project management, lifelong learning, they are all towards developing the desired attitudes and behavior. And it is now accepted that attitudes and behavior, if the person has the right or the, I won't say right, but favorable attitude, then he can make maximum use of his technical knowledge and skill. So attitude determines your altitude, not only the technical knowledge and skills. The person may be very good, having good knowledge and skills, but he doesn't have the attitude, so he'll not be able to work effectively. So here, for technical knowledge, you have seen the cognitive domain, technical skills, psychomotor domain, and you can write learning outcomes. that person has to operate a lathe machines or do a particular job on the lathe machine. This is nothing but an example. Or a person can convert a classroom into a smart classroom, as we have convert Chandigarh to a smart city. It is nothing but it would require lot many skills, right? Here you can see when we are talking of graduate engineers, they're very, very specific technical skills for which experiments and exercises and research need to be undertaken. So all those would come under technical skill component, that is affective domain. And here you can see what I was referring to, that 6 to 12, they are all learning outcomes that are related to affective domains, the program outcomes. So just giving you one example, that how do we develop these values among ourselves. Now, receiving. First, we keep on receiving from the environment, the instruction, do's and don'ts, right? Maybe when I was a child, there were so many do's and don'ts given by my parents, the elders, and don't lie, be cooperative, be truthful, be honest, don't talk to strangers, don't be late for school, be punctual, be regular, all these. Why? Receiving. And a stage comes in when the person starts responding to these. That means an individual accepts few things and tries to challenge other things. For example, why shouldn't I talk to stranger? Why should I not quarrel with others? Huh? Why should I always be cooperative? Huh? Why should I always be truthful and honest? The questioning starts. Similarly, the students who are coming to you, and when you are giving certain rules and regulations and norms, the student may ask, why should I appear in all the three class tests when best two are to be there? So I appear in two and I complete my internal assessment procedure. The student says, attendance is a condition that I must attend 75% of the classes. Why should I attend 100% classes to earn 5% more marks? Because your condition is that I should complete 75% of the classes. Question, right? Or why should I take all the assignments which are not to be graded by the teacher? So I only attempt those which are to be graded by the teacher. Respond. He starts questioning, valuing. Once we, at this stage, we attach worth to certain things. We attach value to money, we attach value to relationship, we attach value to honesty, we attach value to rules, we attach value to be punctual, and so on. A person attaches value to thousands of things in life. Where the question comes in of the organization. Now, for example, when a person has to choose between two things, for example, a person may value honesty, may value relationship both in life. But now he's in a situation where if he speaks truth, his relation with the other person, they are disturbed or they're, I would say, they are adversely affected. If he speaks a lie, the relationship he is able to maintain. Now, whether the person will speak truth or speak lie will depend upon whether he attaches more value to the honesty and less value to the relationship, or less value to the honesty and more value to the, which of the two values he attaches more. So that means a person need to prioritize. Whether he accords more priority to money, to relationship, to honesty. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. each individual has his own prioritization of the value system. Then comes the characterization. That means person personifies that values. So as we say, Mahatma Gandhi, the non-violence. Mother Teresa, the social. So thank you very much, Aman.